Okay, now, we got to talk about the CDC. The CDC has this, in my experience, almost cyclic history. It's respected on one side, they're the epidemic preventers on one side, then something happens, and it's the CDC's fault, and everybody's down on the CDC. We're on the bottom of one of those phases now. Look at Dallas, it's the failure of the CDC, the director of the CDC needs to be fired. You hear all of this. And the media pounding of the CDC right now is relentless. It has been criticized for not acting quickly enough in Dallas. In your view, is that a fair criticism?
It is and it isn't, because they too are dealing with an unknown.
Okay.
And their resources don't just come from out of the air. They are well funded, and their budgets for infectious.
Not to hear them tell it, by the way. They scream about budget cuts.
It's
every
quite
year.
the opposite. Although the budget was cut, the money that went toward new and emerging and infectious threats went up. I would say that anyone that's as well funded as that, bureaucracy as large as that, ought to be able to get out of its own way when they are most needed. If this is an agency truly to serve and protect the American people, we have a right to expect not excuse making, but excellence.
Now, you're in practice. You have an office. You have a hospital with which you're affiliated. Is the CDC there? Are you getting guidance? Are you getting training?
I've had them on the phone a couple of times.
Really?
They were very helpful.
Have they underestimated the potential for an Ebola outbreak in the United States, in your opinion?
I think the better answer to that question is that if we immediately curtail the flights from Western Africa to the United States, we wouldn't have to have that conjecture and that supposition. Do you see what I'm driving at? You can't contain an epidemic if you're encouraging it.
So in your view, the current measures that the CDC is defending, which is to keep the airports open, the flights flying to Western Africa, in your view, that's unwise?
Yes, it is. And I think it's incomprehensible. But every bit as silly as taking temperatures at the airport. I hate to say that, but that's frankly pathetic. It ignores the fact that if someone takes Tylenol reflexively, has their temperature taken, and it's normal, what exactly are you doing taking temperatures anyway?
Okay.
Do you see what I'm driving at here?
I do.
I mean, you're not contagious unless you have a fever.
Okay.
This little snapshot, you don't have a fever. In 10 minutes, you got one, you're over there, you're gone. So it's really rather silly.
I just had this, if I look like I stopped for a minute, I just had this moment of curious conjecture, which is you don't have a fever because you took Tylenol, but you're still infectious as if you did, right? It's not the fever that makes you infectious. Exactly. That's what you're driving at.
Yes, it is.
All right, I hear you.
Take Tylenol if they have a fever. It's a normal thing to do. Or even Advil, and it'll stay down for a while. So it's like an EKG that's normal now, and the heart attack occurs 10 minutes from now.